What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. Round 5 is over, and what a round of rugby it was. Wales versus France was just absolutely mental. I had no idea where that game was going to go. Ireland versus England. Ireland really stepping up a whole nother notch, and Scotland versus Italy just showing off the dominant force Scotland can be when they manage to get all the things going right for them. So as we normally do, we need to do the team of the week for round 5. I'll quickly put on screen the whole rules of what we do, of how we go about choosing the team of the week on this channel, just to make it a little bit different from every other person's team of the week that you probably have that bases it on stats and stuff after the game. I like to choose players during the game, and then we create the team from people that we saw in the game. So starting off at the loose head, got a couple of names written down here. There was not a lot going on in loose head positions. One person that did stand out to me again, which he's done well in this tournament so far, was Wyn Jones. Thought he was doing well for a good chunk of that game, and then it just got to that 60 minutes. That 60 minutes, and then Wales just started falling apart. It just started all going wrong. So for me, my loose head is going to be Cyril Bay. I think he had a really good game all around the park. The scrummaging was sound for him. They're absolutely brilliant in the scrum, France, to be fair to them. He was a good ball-in-hand carrier. Thought he made a great bunch of tackles when he needed to, and he was doing really well throughout the whole game. So at number 1, my loose head will be Cyril Bay. Onto the hooker, a couple of people putting their hands up here. Thought Ken Owens had a pretty good game all round, in all honesty. I don't think I had really any negatives to say about his game. We only got to see him for, what do we see him for, about 60 minutes of the game. I thought he was pretty good all round. The lineouts worked really well, 100% of the lineouts for him that I saw. Playing aggressively again, scrum's working out well. Another name I got down here, Marchand. I thought he had a really good game in terms of carrying the ball. He just kept, I don't even know how many carries he had by the end of that game, but he was really, really dangerous with the ball in hand. The scrum, like I said already, the French scrum was looking really good, so I think he did well in that front row. But for me, the standout hooker of the round goes to Dave Cherry. I thought he had a fantastic game, got himself 2 tries, sort of similar to Ken Owens in the Wales-Italy game. He just didn't want him to stay on to get his hat-trick. Thought that would have been a great appearance from him. I think it was his first start of the tournament. He normally comes on from the bench, but from a starting position, looked very, very good. Lineouts were strong, scrummaging was strong, and of course getting those 2 tries. So to me, David Cherry going to have my hooker position. Tight head prop, only 2 names written down here for me. I thought Xander Fagerson had a good return game after his red card. Of course, he was out for a couple of games after that red card with his ban, but I thought he made a good impact on that Scotland-Italy game. Thought he was all over the park, playing really well, trying to show off, trying to amend a bit for his sins in that game he had where he got his red card. But for me, tight head, I think I even had him last week. Again, just superb. Tyke Furlong. Really putting his hand up, potentially for a Lion shirt in there somewhere. I think Tyke Furlong's playing really well, really dangerous in that scrummaging area. I think Mako Vunipola had such a hard time trying to deal with Tyke Furlong. And again, the running threat we get to see from him, think he's superb. So my tight head goes to Tyke Furlong. Moving back to the locks, couple of names going on in the number 4 shirt. I actually wrote down within that first 20 minutes, Tofai Fanua for France, I thought had a fantastic few minutes in that game. He was the first name I probably wrote down for that number 20 shirt in that game. I thought he did so well. Of course, we only got to see him for 20 minutes, so that was the shame for his game. I think he will have scored well for people's fantasies, but in terms of an overall game only getting to play 20 minutes, I don't think it's right to pick someone based on 20 minutes. Ian Henderson played well for Ireland as well against that England team. Really dangerous at the lineouts. We got to see him. We know how dangerous he can be at lineouts, as we got to see in the Ireland-Scotland game as well. But for me, the standout name, a man who played absolutely solidly for I don't even know how long, probably a good sort of 65 minutes, was Adam Beard. He was just everywhere, really looking good for Wales. Even when he was out on his own, he wasn't afraid to carry that ball in. No penalties given away from him. I thought he did really well when it came to line-out time. He was receiving balls. Think he did well all over. So for me, Adam Beard's going to take my number 4 shirt. Number 5, a couple of names people would probably want to pick from this game. Valemsa was having a really good game, in all honesty. He was looking very, very dangerous until, of course, he came into that red card scenario. That's going to be a big X on his record, I guess we'd sort of call it. I had no need for that to happen at all. I thought he had a good game all round, and that's just a big blemish on his marker for that game for Valemsa, but did think he had a good game up until that point. I think a lot of people here would want to pick Alan Wynne. He was looking very good in that game. The only problem for me with Alan Wynne is just getting himself in the situations he doesn't need to. I really thought he was going to pick up a yellow card in that game in that 65th minute, find himself on the wrong side, not rolling away. He'd already had the warning, and I think had it not come for the Valemsa red card, I think we could have even seen a yellow card going towards Alan Wynne there. So for me, I'm not going to pick Alan Wynne, but I can understand why a lot of people probably would. I think he had a really good game in terms of aggressiveness and defending and attacking, really. But for me, I've picked him every week, and this week he's in number 5. It's got to be Tadhg Beirne. Again, I'm picking him every week. In all honesty, I really think, I know a lot of people, when they come to talk about player of the tournament, people will probably look at people like Rhys Zammit and Dupont. But to me, if you're into your nitty-gritty stuff that goes on in rugby, you can really see the work Tadhg Beirne is doing. I think he's having a superb tournament. Every round he's doing so well. I think he's been in most of my team of the weeks. And again, in this one, absolutely instrumental in beating England in that game. Really, really good game overall. So for me, I'm going to go for Tadhg Beirne. Moving into the flankers, only 2 names for me written down for shirt number 6, CJ Stander, switching it up a bit, moving to 6 rather than his normal 8 position. A lot of carries going on, still doing the good work that we like to see from him. It's a bit of a step up from the game we saw him have in the Scotland game, where he wasn't really doing an awful lot, but this game was definitely looking a lot more vocal, a lot more attacking runs, a lot more carries, looking like a bit of a danger runner again. But for me, the standout number 6 for this round was Navidi. He got man of the match last round, which I did question whether a lot of people agreed with him getting the man of the match for that game against Italy. Of course, he does good work every round. We always see him do it. But this game, to me, was so much better for him. Just every tackle absolutely clinical. So many dominant tackles coming in for him, really pushing people back. Thought he had a superb game. So for me, number 6, Navidi. Number 7, not a lot of people showing off to me at number 7 this week. Again, another 2 names written down. Tipuric having a good game, as we always like to see from him. He does the hard work, the unseen work in the background. But if you actually just stop and pay attention to how much work Tipuric does, even got to see a little grubber kick from him. Thought he played a good game. Maybe some people would pick Charles Olivon. I would have liked to seen a little bit more from him. He did have a try disallowed, which I think was maybe a little bit unfair. He did manage to get a try, eventually crashing through. I think it was Thomas Williams by that point, so I think people might pick him. But for me, I saw him again. Hamish Watson, just killing it in that Italy game. He's looking devastating. I think if people are looking for a Lions shirt number 7, Watson has surely got to be in there. I think he's having such a good tournament. I think he's played really well. And that game against Italy might have been the best one yet. I think I heard a stat in-game. Someone said he made like over 120 metres. Why is a flanker making over 120 metres? He's just doing amazing work. The tackle rate is great. The turnovers he does, the aggressive running, the player offloads that he has, I just think he's superb. So for me, the standout name, number 7, Hamish Watson. Number 8, had a few number 8s move to different positions this week, so it's been able to shake it up a little bit. Faletau was playing well for a good proportion of that game. A couple of little bits and bobs that he didn't need to do. He had a turnover against him that he just went to ground and immediately released the ball, had a turnover going towards France. And then, of course, getting himself a yellow card, just pushing Dupont for no reason, really. So I think a couple of blemishes potentially on his record there. Matt Fagerson had a good game again. He's actually had a really good tournament, in all honesty. I wasn't sure about him going in at number 8 for Scotland, but he's had very, very good so far. A couple of good deep running lines, doing that CJ Stander style from the back line. Thought Matt Fagerson had a good game. But for me, potentially a bit controversial, I'm going to pick Gregory Aldrit. I think he had really good work. He did spend a bit of time off. I think he spent about 5 minutes off because they had to have the replacement for Antonio to come on during the yellow card situation. So he did have a little bit of time off. So potentially a bit of a negative there. But I think when he was on the field, he did really good work. He was really holding it for them in the rucks and mauls. I think Aldrit was one of the key reasons why France weren't conceding more points. He went off for a little bit of time. Probably the bit of rest helped him because as soon as he came back on from sort of serving that semi-yellow card for them, I thought he was really dangerous, just absolutely clinical, especially when it came to line-outs. He's just a big ball carrier. We know how dangerous he can be, especially from the back of the scrum, the pick and go. Thought he was really good. So for me, Aldrit is going to take my number 8 shirt. On to the backs. Two names written down here for scrum half. I think this one will come down a little bit more to your own interpretation of how you'd go for a team of the week. I thought Conor Murray had a very good game. I thought maybe they would have stuck with Gibson Park for that one, but I thought Conor Murray was really, really good. And I wrote his name down. I thought I was going to pick Conor Murray for my number 9. I thought he was pretty solid all round, and there isn't really a lot of blemishes you could say on Conor Murray's record. But to me, again, the standout, as I'm sure a lot of people would do, some people because it's just a big name, but I think he's so good at this point. Antoine Dupont will have to take my number 9 shirt. Absolutely instrumental in that win. So quick from the rucks and the mauls when he needs the ball out. He does such a good job. Got himself a try, just dodging players, making such a nuisance of himself. He got them a penalty that took them to 17-all because Josh Adams went for the high tackle on him, keeping his head low centre of gravity. We know how dangerous he can be. I can see him being in a lot of people's number 9 here. So for me, Antoine Dupont. A couple of people putting their hands up for fly half. I don't think Hogg had the best game at fly half. I know it's not his usual position. What did he have? Like a 70-ish% kicking ratio, and I don't think I got to see an enormous amount from him at fly half. It's not his position. I thought that would have been the game he would have maybe looked to explode in, but of course having to play that number 10 shirt. Garbisi, I thought, had a good game for Italy. Some of the kicks from penalties were so good. Finding touch, huge meters made, really, really good for him. Sexton all round was your competency man. All of the kicks that he needed to do were absolutely solid. Stayed on the pitch for an awfully long time in that game. Big name in terms of trying to beat that England team, and I think he was really, really instrumental in it. Didn't get to see a lot from Jalibert, of course, taking an injury quite early on, but the standout name on this team sheet, I think should be on everyone's. Dan Biggar, for me, was my number 10 at fly half. I thought he had an incredible game. Had Wales gone on to win that game, I think he would have got man of the match. Just everywhere. I think he got 100% kicking towards the post. All the points scored that he needed to. So many desperate tackles that needed to be made, all coming from him. So many great decisions in terms of inside balls and distributing. Really, really good. So for me, Dan Biggar taking my fly half shirt. Left wing, I think almost every left winger actually had a better game this week than we're used to seeing. Monty Iwani trying to impress a little bit in that Italian team, still trying to work hard in that left wing. Josh Adams doing good work in all honesty for Wales, apart from a couple of penalties going against him. Damien Penaud doing well, especially under some of the high balls, although I did feel he spent an awful lot of time on the right wing as opposed to the left wing where he was meant to be playing. Johnny May got himself a try in there. Stockdale, we probably wanted to see a little bit more from, but Stockdale hasn't been in the best of form for quite a while. So everyone realistically doing well across the board, but the standout name for me was Duhan van der Merwe. Just a monster, and he's awesome. I think he's so good on that left wing. When you see him open it, when you give him a bit of room, got to see it in this game. 2 tries. God only knows how many meters he made. I haven't actually gone and looked up how many meters he made. Couple of runs from really deep in his own half. No one chasing him, bouncing people off. I'm pretty sure at one point I saw a stat bump up that he'd had something like 17 tackle breaks. Who even does that? How is that even possible? I think he's so good. I think for me, absolutely stand out on that left wing. Duhan van der Merwe. Inside centre, we got to see not a lot of people really putting their hands up for inside centre. Of course, Federico Mori got himself sent off for a little bit. We had Bundyaki getting himself sent off for a little bit. Farrell, I don't think we got to see an awful lot from Farrell. Jonathan Davis was a bit of a points vacuum for Wales, just so many penalties going against him. I don't think 12s across the board had a superb round. Sam Johnson was doing okay, but he just kept making the wrong choices for me. He managed to get himself a try at the end, which was nice, but every time you just wanted that one extra pass. Sam Johnson just not giving it. So for me, the one player left here that I can name is going to be Fickou. I do know he moved to the left wing, so I'm trying to avoid breaking my own rules here, but I know Fickou started at 12. I know he moved to the left wing when they had the yellow card situation, but I think he had a really good game. Very, very aggressive. He was a big part of trying to break through that Wales line. Did well at centre, did well when he moved to left wing, and even filled in at scrum time when he needed to, when of course they had to have Aldrit off. So I think overall Fickou having a really good game, so he's going to take my inside centre shirt. Outside centre, probably the most competitive in terms of top quality play. I thought Henshaw had a really good game. Big name in terms of beating England in that one, finding a lot of room where he wasn't really meant to be finding it, breaking through tackles, making good meters. George North doing well in that 13 shirt, crash ball, became a bit of an only man option on a couple of occasions, but making sure as well as a dummy runner actually did well alongside Reece Zammit when they were both going at the same time. France not knowing who to target. He's becoming a real danger man in that outside centre. Vakatawa had some fantastic tackles in that game. Thought he was an absolute monster in terms of some of those tackles. The one he had on Zammit was a big hit. Thought he played well. We didn't get to see him open up a little bit with a lot more room, which was a bit of a shame. But for me, the one man that I'm going to say, a lot of people have a different 13 here. I think this will be the one people have a lot of different choices on. But for me, Hugh Jones had a really good game. He's missed out an awful lot with Chris Harris playing relatively well in that 13 shirt. Hugh Jones brings a whole different dimension. We got to see him come on in that Ireland game and score a try, and we knew he was going to do well in this Italy game, but he did better than I expected. A lot of line breaks, finding the gaps where he's just a really good player at finding the gaps where he's not meant to be, and then making good meters. He's such a quick player as soon as he gets away. And of course, I think he got himself a try in there. Did he get one or did he get two? I think he got one try in that game as well. So for me, Hugh Jones going to take my number 13 in the outside centre. Right wing was a little bit quieter this week. Zammit had his try disallowed, and bar that one, we didn't really get to see him do an awful lot. There was a couple of nice little inside balls from set plays, but definitely no one seemed to be giving him the ball to work a lot with big space and big room where we like to see him go. I'm wondering if he actually picked up an injury in that game along the way. After that diving try that he got disallowed, I did think he was jogging an awful lot as opposed to sprinting. I'm wondering whether he picked up a knock. He seemed to really slow down after that happened. Teddy Thomas, we didn't really get to see a lot from in that game. He got substituted off very early for Arthur Vincent coming on. I don't think we got to see an awful lot from him. Sort of similar to Watson, we didn't really get to see him open up for England. Darcy Graham played pretty well for Scotland. He took a big knock very early on, which I thought was going to have him go off the field, but fair play to him for staying on the field. But for me, the one name that I've got written down here and underlined, Keith Earls. Having a great tournament. I feel like I might have even overlooked him a couple of times along the way in terms of my team of the week. So I think he does good work. And in that England game, we really got to see how devastating he can be. Got himself a try as well. Opened up the floodgates to beating England in that game. I think Keith Earls played really well. So Keith Earls is going to have my right wing. Fullbacks has got some questionable names. It'll be interesting to see what other people pick for fullback. For me, I had 3 names written down, one of which I couldn't believe. Let's start off with, I thought Liam Williams had a relatively good game for the majority of the game. There were a couple of tackles that he missed that he really shouldn't be missing. He missed one on Julan that led to him getting a try, which did actually get disallowed. So he got lucky with that one. There were some other weird little kicks. I thought he did well in the air, actually. That's a good point for Liam Williams. So he did well in the up and unders, managing to potentially beat Julan in a couple of those aggressive aerial battles. Got himself a yellow card. Silly penalties. He did have a couple of silly penalties, and especially that one knocking the ball out of Dupont's hands was a weird decision. So I think a bit of a blemish there for getting the yellow card. A name I can't believe. I'm going to say here, Elliot Daly. Elliot Daly had an alright game. I can't believe. Elliot Daly, for me, I think he's the only English name I've got written down on my piece of paper, actually. I really thought England struggled in that game. I know the scoreboard looked very friendly, but in all honesty, I thought Ireland dictated that game from start to finish, and I really didn't feel at any point England were going to win that game. So many key players not really stepping up for them. And the one man that I actually thought did relatively well was Elliot Daly. Moving from the outside centre where we expected to see him, and I expected to see him crash and burn, moving to fullback and having the best game of his tournament, by far, by absolute far. At one point, I even heard him scream "come on" to the rest of the team because they weren't living up to his standard, which I thought was surprising as anything. So weirdly, outrageously, a bit of an honourable mention to Daly this week. But for me, one name that I've underlined here, of course, will be Julan. He played relatively well in that game. A couple of people had negative comments against him for the aerial battle when on the defensive side. He was good when it was his own up and unders. He collected all of them from his own up and unders, but I think he lost all of them from defensive up and unders, which was probably a bit of a blemish on him. Did get a try disallowed, did score the winning try that sees France keep the hopes alive. throughout the game, thought he played well. They had one where he had the ball on his own try line and dodged about 7 tackles and made it all the way back to the 22. Thought he had a good game overall. So for me, Bryce Dulin takes my 15 shirt. And there we have it, guys. That is my team of the week for round 5. But of course, like I say every week, this is my team. This isn't your team. So who do you guys think made team of the week? Make sure you drop it down in the comments who your 1 to 15 were, who stood out, who would you change in my team, who would you add into your team. It's all a bit of fun. Make sure you drop it down in the comments so we can all have a look at each other's team. And as we do every week after the team of the week, we talk about the fantasy league that's been going on. And there's a lot to talk about this week. So starting off with the actual fantasy, I had an incredible round. Scotland doing an awful lot for me. Duhan van der Merwe absolutely killing it. So at the end of this round, I found myself at the top there on 252. Sambuca down there in second. Cameron Fish coming in third. Only half a point ahead of Bowie. It became a bit of a close for that second, third, fourth area. It's a real close competition around that area. But in terms of the overall leaderboards, I've seen myself jump all the way up. I'm up in top place now, 52 points ahead with only 1 game left. It could be potentially secured there. Dankan Ruck falling back down to second place. Bowie coming in at third. It's quite close there, actually. You know, second and third could be up for grabs. Rodri of Wales sees himself fall all the way down to 6. It's becoming a little bit looser than it was in the last round, but I had a very good round in that one. So, taking a look at the predictor, again, I came top of that one as well. This has been a good round for me, fantasy-wise. I have managed to close the gap up to Sam a little bit. It's only 2 points away now, Sam, the leaderboard. The potential for the win could come there. With only 1 game left, though, it will be difficult. I think you need to pick the wrong team. I need to pick the correct team to win and get the score pretty bang on to take over that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get close enough to that one. And Maddie's looking pretty solid in that third place as well. In fact, Maddie could look to overtake me. Who knows how that final round will go. But that is the Fantasy League. And a massive thank you to everyone who has got involved in the Fantasy League over the course of the Six Nations. It's been really nice to engage a bit more with some of the people in the subscriber list and a bit more of the community getting on. I think it's a lot of fun that everyone gets to join in. So thank you to everyone. Of course, we have 1 game left. It will be the decider for the Six Nations. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'll do my preview video as I normally do. I guess a team of the week next week might just be between Scotland and France players. I don't know if people enjoy that, so make sure you drop it down in the comments if you want to see that next week. Just who was the best in the overall 15, maybe. Not sure how we're going to do about that. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.